Imagine loading up a new game. It's level 1, but you're on extreme difficulty with no power ups, zero idea of the controls, and you just keep, well, dying over and over. That's exactly what the beginning of your 20s feels like. Whether you think this is entirely true or not, I think we can all agree there's an element of truth to it. The essence of this idea is that in your 20s, you technically know nothing. Saying you know nothing might sound like a bit of a stretch. You might think, but I've completed 2 decades, I have a degree and a little life experience. And that's exactly where the paradox begins. Being in your 20s is so weird, especially earlier on. There's this intense feeling that you're supposed to be figuring things out, coupled with the fact that you might not know exactly what you want to figure out in a real sense. You don't know what future you will want. The realization of the things you've been told all your life, even the most basic ones, it's different. The rebellious part of you that you developed along the way has to sit back and watch. Everything will seem clear and not so clear at the same time. This isn't a bad thing at all. If anything, it's all good because you're settling into unfamiliarity, and that's just growth. I spoke to a friend about this recently. She described this stage as similar to when you were younger, somehow thrilled with the idea of becoming an adult. But now, at this point of the quote unquote becoming, the thrill just hit differently. No matter how prepared you are, I don't think you can be fully prepared for it. There is this existential stress that I feel, wondering, what am I becoming? What am I going to make of myself? I tell my friends this often, how this stress didn't exist when we were in school, because in context of school, no matter the stress of classes or projects, it was never like this. At least you were bound to school for however much time you have left to complete your degree. It's important to know this stress is entirely healthy because it shows you actually care. This stress can be really intense at times because social media makes it look like everyone has it together. And even though logically we all know it's a highlight reel, there's still that pang of, am I behind? This leads to comparison, making you feel like you are failing or not doing something right. Then comes a sense of isolation. You feel disconnected and alone. It's harder to make friends because there's no context bringing you to new people, and you tend to drift apart from existing friends, not because of any conflicts, but simply because everyone is at a different point in their lives. You wake up daily with questions, thoughts, and decisions you have to make. Your passion versus your stability, your confidence stacked against your insecurities, freedom versus responsibilities, and your relationship with people. You have so much time, yet no time at all. These are some things that cement the whole idea of the paradox. You weigh options that go against each other in your mind, knowing each one leads to a different outcome in most cases. Every decision feels like a move in a game. And the tricky part is that even though you know the outcomes will be different, they aren't solely based on the choice you make. Other variables, most of which are beyond your control, play a role in the outcome as well. Variables like how circumstances change over time, or how future you might feel about decisions you made. Everything seems chaotic, but it doesn't have to stay that way if you have an understanding of this phase. There is this trick I've learned called walking backwards. In game theory, it is called backward induction. It involves imagining myself maybe 5 years from now, and looking back at the decision I'm about to make and seeing where it might lead me. Is future me going to be okay with this decision? This trick is really helpful because that way I can easily weigh in and pick the more important option. And yeah, it's not that straightforward when making lifelong decisions because of many circumstances. I think it all goes back to finding the balance. Being self-aware and self-conscious is really important to getting this right. The truth is, this doesn't mean I'll always get it right, and that's another part of the paradox. I'm not always sure of what I'm doing. None of us are. I'm still trying to figure out what I want now versus what I think I'll want later. I think the most important part is having a plan. executing it, acknowledging the mistakes along the way, and refining your plan. But don't set a rigid deadline. Know there's a bit of urgency so you don't lose track of what you have to do. I think that's what your 20s are all about. Embracing that paradox, one imperfect step at a time. Making moves without actually knowing how it all ends, because you are not in control of most of the outcomes, but making sure you are aware and staying in control of what you can, and that's okay too.